Good morning. How is everybody this fine? My brain's just gone completely blank. Tuesday morning. Good to see you all. You will notice that I am yet alone. What can we say? It's quite nice, actually, a bit of freedom. I can do what I like on here and Pat can't stop me. But Pat's away at the moment, so I'm going to zoom him in now in a second to look at our verse this morning. So I hope you're all keeping well. And welcome to November. You know what that means. It's only a month until I'm going to force Pat into all his Christmas jumpers every single day. Just you wait and see. So I'm going to bring Pat. Let me see if we have him. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, all the way from Brussels.
Oh, excuse me. Some of us get to just, leave Cinderella at home and off you go. Stay here.
Leave the princess alone. And should I ask you, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? You missing me?
I'm there a little bit. Yeah,
missing you a lot. If you don't say you're not missing me, I'll take you off the live stream. And that.
Okay, I'm missing you terrible.
Good. Okay, well, will we get straight into it?
Let's get straight into it, lovely.
Okie dokie. One of my favorite books. We were talking on Sunday about the book of Ruth, and then somebody said to me afterwards, and I said, Esther would be my other favorite. I absolutely
Well, I'm preaching on Sunday.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
I can give you pointers, so I'm an expert on Esther.
Oh, very good.
No, I just love the story of Esther. Do you know what I love about the book of Esther that people really overlook is the fact that she was an orphan.
Shan, will you stop taking my message, please?
But people just go on and on and on about everything that she did, and where she began, like her humble beginnings. Like she lost her mom and dad, and her uncle, her cousin, I think he is, isn't he? Took her in and raised her. So, like her beginning was quite tragic. Like she was an orphan at the end of the day, and look at how her life ended. It's just incredible.
Yeah,
we'll look at the verse this morning. That
is, I don't think it's a well-known verse, but it's a great verse.
It's a verse we all know. We all know this one. Come on, guys, you all know this. Everybody's what. I only got 2 translations this morning because this verse is such a clear verse. It is what it is, basically. It does what it says in the tin. So, and who knows whether you have attained royalty for such a time as this and for this very purpose. So that's the Amplified they've added there, and for this very purpose. So we know the story that the Jewish people are in need and they're about to be Haman coming against them. So this is where she's in the palace and she has opportunity to try and appeal to the king on their behalf. And when it said to her, well, who knows, maybe this is why you're here. Maybe this is your moment. Maybe this is the very day that you were supposed to be in this position for. Yeah. And then I got actually the complete Jewish Bible, which isn't, I wanted to look at some of the Jewish translations because of the history with Esther. And it just says, just something slightly different. Just one little word can make a difference. It says, who knows whether you didn't come into your royal position precisely for such a time.
Like that, yeah, precisely.
Yeah. How precise is our God, yeah?
Amen. Well, I think that verse is very, is a word poignant for such a time as this. And sometimes I think we forget that we were born for such a time as this, and that we are living in this generation at this time of in God's calendar for 2021 or 2022 or whatever, 2019. And I believe, and I really believe this, that this is a specific time for the church and the people of God. And sometimes there is a verse in 1 Chronicles chapter 14, verse 26. It says, the sons of Issachar knew the signs and the times that they were living in, and enabled the people of Israel to go forward. So I think we have to understand the time that we're living in, but also understand the time that we are now living in as the people of God. And that we are called for such a time as this. This is our moment, and this is our time to shine and to have a huge impact in society and the people around us, our community, our friends, our family. I think this is our time. I really believe this is our time. We often say, well, the next generation or the generation after, but I think this is our time. I really do. This is our moment.
I think having come through what the world has come through of late, it's like, it's a massive moment in history for us, isn't it? Like we read all the history books and we learn all the history and all of these things. But I think, a massive event like COVID-19. You know, I don't know, sometimes I sort of pinch myself that it's happened and that I'm here and that I've witnessed it. And I, you know, when it was going on, we were often saying, I was even saying to the kids, I said, there'll come a day where your grandchildren will ask you, were you alive during COVID-19? And what was it like when you were locked down and all these things? And, you know, it has been a massive event. And I think it does cause you to stop and take stock of the timings that we're in. And I remember at the very beginning of COVID, I don't know if you remember, Pat, on a live stream we did, I actually remember saying that. I said, like, at the end of the day, whatever is going on around us, God has ordained that you and I would be here in this moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yesterday, here and now, here in this moment. And we're in this moment. And I know it can be really, really challenging. But, you know, and that's where Esther found herself. You know, she's there. There's this slaughter about to take place of the Jewish people. And here she is, a Jewess in the king's palace. Probably, you know, it was either going to be the best position or the worst. It was one or the other. There was no in between with this. And I think that's how it's been with COVID. You know, we've either found ourselves to think this is the worst scenario or the best scenario, because I really believe God, like you say, it's a timing thing. And I think God really wants to use the church and use God's people like never before. Well,
there's a verse in Ecclesiastes, there's a time for everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in God's calendar, there is a time for everything. And I want to just say this one. I want to talk to you as an individual. As an individual, there's a time for everything that God has for you. And usually God tailors the time. He literally choreographs all the events around you.
Every day is ordained, isn't it?
Absolutely. So everything, every event, every situation in your situation is literally orchestrated by God at a specific time in your life. Now, I'm sitting in Brussels. 22 years ago, I arrived here. I went to a Bible school that was the most timely event in my life. That actually changed not just my life, but my destiny and my future. Now, the great thing with Esther is she's in a time where she either embraces what God is about to do or she rejects it. And so in my own personal life, 22 years ago, I embraced everything God had orchestrated. And a lot of people often say, where's God? And God often orchestrates times, events, circumstances, situations in order for you to embrace, in order for you to see the destiny that is in your heart fulfilled. And Esther was born for a specific destiny. It was her own destiny, but it was also the destiny of the Jewish people. And I want to encourage people today.
Sorry, go on.
I want to encourage people today. Your individual life matters to God. And everything that's happening around you has been orchestrated, planned, strategically planned, actually, in order for you to fulfill what God has for you to do on the planet Earth, but for this time.
Amen.
And don't miss it. Don't miss the time. Don't miss the mark. Don't miss the event. Don't miss the situation.
Because you can be in that moment and not be obedient. Like Esther had a choice at that moment. And like the reality was that Esther risked her life. Risked her life for God's people. And I think it's really, really important that, you know, we acknowledge that it's not just about, you know, this sort of, I know we get into the Calvinistic theories and all this kind of thing that, you know, everything will just happen. But we have a choice to be obedient as we're in these moments that God has ordained for our lives. And you know, say God, from the moment that we are conceived, God knows the plans he has for us. And he knows every day that will unfold in our lives. But I also think it's really important that in those days that we check ourselves and because even the fact that this conversation takes place is there's an option for Esther, and she's being persuaded. Like there's a persuasive argument, if you like, in what we're hearing. Who knows? Like maybe this is the moment that you have come to royalty for. What was all of that for? And you know, I think we have to look at our lives and look at where we're standing and look at what we're doing and say, well, who knows? What was that for? And is it for this moment? And you know, why are we living where we're living? Why are we surviving through, you know, walking our way through COVID-19? Why are you in Brussels? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? Is this the moment that all of this is leading up to? And for all of our lives, I think there does come, I don't know, there's lots of choices in our lives. There's lots of purpose and there's lots of situations. And as my dad used to talk about, my mom, about divine appointments, where you stand at an appointment, you know, it's divinely orchestrated, that God has ordained that moment for you. But I do believe that for most of us, there are one or two huge moments like this for Esther, where others are impacted by our choices. And, you know, like you sort of say, you know, there you are in Belgium when you went to Bible college and all of those things. And if you think about that, you know, please God, there's lots of lives that have been impacted by that choice.
Yeah.
And I think when Esther realized the full impact of the people that she had rescued by being obedient to the options and obedient to the will of God in her life, by choosing the right path, it impacted, it saved lives. And it made such an impact that the Jewish people still celebrate it today.
Well, often people talk about Winston Churchill, and what they say is he was the man for the moment.
Yes, yeah.
He was the man for that moment. That changed and actually brought unbelievable rescue and safety for Europe. Right, we're still talking.
Didn't he?
What's that?
He still had a choice.
He had a choice, and you see, Esther's choice would affect so many people. If Esther had made a different choice, there would be no Book of Esther. So you take the Book of Esther, you jump a few books in front of her, and you go into the Book of Judges. There's a man that was called for such a time called Samson, and Samson made all the wrong choices and never ever accomplished what God had for him. You jump into the Book of the Book of Jonah, another story, running away from God's plan and purpose and all the rest. So there are given times and moments at a specific time, circumstances that allow you to make a choice. And
like a pivot point in your life.
Absolutely, like a crossroad, like that moment when God just literally opens the door that you are to walk through, but then it's still down to you. And we thank God for Esther, because Esther made a huge impact.
There was two ways she could have approached this.
Absolutely.
Like living in the kingdom and like being a favorite of the king, she could have just said, well, probably I'm going to be all right. So like, why should I risk all of this? But knowing full well that it was either the best or the worst of places to be, if she had an inkling that it was going to be the best place because she was a favorite of the king, she might have just thought, well, I'll just keep myself safe and maybe try and save a couple of my family, Mordecai or whatever, but she chose to do the courageous thing. She knew, I believe, I don't know, I just believe in my heart that there was something in her heart that she knew that there was a divine purpose in her life. And the wonderful thing is, like I say, we all have that divine purpose in our lives, and it's tapping into that. And it's just, as we walk into today, it's just Tuesday, it's just the 2nd of November, but you know what, it can be a day of divine purpose in our lives.
Absolutely. Divine appointments. Absolutely.
And you know what, it might not even be in your life, it might be in the lives of others, because that was a day of divine purpose for Esther, but also for the Jewish people. If you asked any of those Jewish people outside that palace, they would have said, like, this was a day of divine purpose for our lives, where she stepped in and turned everything around. And I think even if we don't feel it for ourselves, we need to feel it for other people. Go out this morning. I just want to encourage anybody watching this morning, go out this morning and just think about that. This could be a day of divine purpose for everybody that you meet. The person that serves you at the checkout, the person at the car parking kiosk, wherever you go, you have opportunities to bring divine purpose into the lives of the people that you meet. And it can have a massive impact, even if you don't realize when you do it. I mean, how many times have we done something or said something or reached out to somebody or texted somebody or whatever we've done, and that person comes back and says, oh my goodness, this is what was going on, this is what happened, this is how that affected me. And I'm all about that. I know I keep on about it, but I just know my life, having walked with the Lord this length of time,
the key is the sons of Issachar
have massively impacted my life. Have impacted my life, have been people that just did the simple things.
Well, the sons of Issachar knew the times that they were living, and they actually took hold of that time and did something. And I just want to encourage people today, from an application point of view, understand the time we live in, look at the events that's going on around you, circumstances, situations, and make the choice that God is asking you, not just to impact your life, but to impact so many people around you. As Shan said, your neighbor, your friend, your colleague, the person in the shopping mall, whatever. There are moments when God will just use you. But remember, it's your time. It is your time now.
And remember, every day is a day of divine purpose, and every moment in that day can be a moment of divine purpose. It's just how we respond to those moments, and just, I don't know, I suppose being aware of that, isn't it? And just being aware, things that seem very ordinary to us can really have an impact on people that we meet.
Absolutely.
So we today go out as carriers of divine purpose. Amen, Pat?
Amen, Sean.
Difficult with the overlap. I think we've got a bit of a...
That's okay.
A public Wi-Fi there, so it's a bit weird. So we're missing you.
Thank you, love. Missing you too.
Great day. Go out and have a day of divine purpose, Pat.
Amen. Amen. And thank you, my love.
You talk to. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being with us. We love you all. And we might be back together on Thursday. We're not sure. Actually, we might still be apart. Who knows? This time next week we're together. But we'll see you all on Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Have a great day. Have a great week. And make sure that you make it at every moment a moment of divine purpose, a day of divine purpose for everybody around you. Amen?
Amen.
Have a great day.